Some say it rained, I don't know if it's true. Well, I can just imagine 10,000 angels crying. That would seem like rain to me and you. The angels all stood ready to take him from the tree. They waited for the words from his voice. And when he asked the Father, "Why hast thou forsaken me?" they watched the Savior die of his own choice. I've never seen 10,000 angels cry, but I'm sure they did as they stood by and watched the Savior die. God turned his head away, he couldn't bear the sight. It must have looked like rain when 10,000 angels cried. As the sun slipped away, the skies turned to gray. And when Jesus gave his all, that's when the tears began to fall. I've never seen 10,000 angels cry, but I'm sure they did as they stood by and watched the Savior die. God turned his head away, he couldn't bear the sight. It must have looked like rain when 10,000 angels cried. It must have looked like rain when 10,000 angels cried.
If this is my last song, if this is my final day, if tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say? If this is my last song, if it's my time to go, when my body's moved on, what will I have to show? No, not fortune or fame, they scatter to the wind. The things that make a name just don't matter in the end. But is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue. Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. If these are my last words for all of the earth to hear, if all that I have ever been is about to disappear, if these are my last words, there's nothing that I need to say. I have only tried to serve. It's never been about talking anyway. So much hurt there is to heal, it's hard to understand. All I can hope to feel is that I am doing what I can. Is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue. Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. Have I given hope to the hopeless? Has a hungry soul been fed? Has a child stood a little bit taller 'cause of something that I said? Have I left a little kindness? Have I eased a little pain? If so, then I'm glad I came. For that, I'm so glad I came. If this is my last song, what do I leave behind? What do I pass on if I am out of time?
Good afternoon, everyone. If I haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet, I'm Linda Taylor. I'm the minister here at Center of Unity. And on behalf of the family of Sue Rogers Zimmerman, thank you for joining us for this time to celebrate her life. We come together on this day to remember that life that was both human and eternal. We come to celebrate the one who we have loved dearly. As a mother and grandmother, nurse, therapist, friend, seeker of truth, Sue has lived in our hearts and shall live there forever. Today we are called to let go of what was and create space for what will be. as we know in our minds and hearts that life does not end, it merely changes form. So today we say goodbye, sharing stories and thoughts and love, but it's also a call for us to say hello. We're saying goodbye to the relationship that we had in this physical form, but we also have the opportunity to say hello to the relationship with her soul that can be just as rich if we will allow ourselves to make that connection. So I invite you to join with me as we just bring our minds and our hearts into this time, into this place. Because it is in the silence that the Spirit of God is within. In this place, in this space, God speaks to us, not in words perhaps, but in an inner realization. So let us take a moment to quietly realize together that the love of God, which is the law of eternal life, is with us right now. May each feel that loving presence. May your comfort and compassion strengthen us as we share this experience together. It is in the name and after the nature of the living, loving Christ that we stand in this place and allow it to be. We are here today to reaffirm our faith in life eternal as we bless Sue on her way into her next experience of living. And it is our prayer from this time forward that we will never think of her as limited by time or form, but always as a living soul, ever continuing on the path of life, ever in the wise and loving care of God. Amen.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
The scriptures remind us in Ecclesiastes 3, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which has been planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. So today we both lean into this place of both mourning and celebrating the life of Sue. We lean on and place our trust in God to love and to guide us as we make our own adjustments in the absence of Sue's physical presence. Valinda, I never called her Valinda. I don't think many people did. Valinda Sue Parrish Zimmerman was born on November 8th, 1947 in Little Rock, Arkansas, to Johnny and Nita Parrish. She entered her eternal rest on February 27th of this year. Sue was preceded in death by her beloved husband, Jim Zimmerman, her parents, Johnny and Nita Parrish, and her cherished granddaughter, Hannah Noel Rogers. She is lovingly survived by her sister, Carol McLean, her son, Chris Rogers, and his wife, Michelle, her daughter, Kim Garcia, and her husband, Mark, and her treasured grandchildren, Alexis, William, Marcus, Nita, Matthew, Brooke, Bailey, Jacob, and Madison, whew, along with numerous extended grandchildren and family members who adored her and that she embraced fully as family. Sue was raised in the church and was a lifelong lover of the Lord. At age 2, she moved with her family to Cleburne, Texas, where she grew up and attended the Cleburne school system. And while in high school, she played the clarinet in the band, reflecting her creative spirit. I'm guessing she sang too, because it sounds like she sang all of her life. She later married her first husband, Rod Rogers, and together they welcomed 2 children, Chris and Kim. And while raising them, Sue began to pursue her calling in healthcare, attending Texas Women's University, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. She worked at St. Paul Hospital, beginning her career in the neonatal intensive care unit throughout the late 70s and 80s, and later transitioning into labor and delivery nursing. And during this time, she made a meaningful professional contribution by pioneering an early and comprehensive program called Sibling Touch Program, and you're going to hear about more of that later. But the goal of the program was to reduce family stress and childhood anxiety by allowing siblings who were traditionally barred from visiting newborns in the NICU to visit and to see and to physically touch their new brother or sister. The program also helped prepare children by explaining medical equipment and procedures in an age-appropriate way. Again, the goal was to help reduce any fear and make the environment less overwhelming for the kids coming in. This groundbreaking effort reflected Sue's deep compassion for families and her understanding of the importance of emotional connection and reassurance during difficult beginnings. In the late 80s and early 90s, Sue returned to Texas Women's University, earning a master's degree in behavioral health. This allowed her to transition from nursing into counseling, which beginning in 2007, she dedicated herself to working with children and eventually opened her own private practice. She continued serving others with empathy, wisdom, and faith until her retirement in December of 2025, which is not totally accurate because she was still talking to clients up until probably the last week. Just a few, she would tell me, oh, there's just a few. Outside of her professional life, Sue loved gardening, cherished time spent with family and friends. She embodied joy and gentleness and resilience, and her loving and spunky personality brought comfort and laughter and light to all of those around her. Honoring her lifelong commitment to learning and to service, she fulfilled her final wish by donating her body to UT Southwestern Medical School for further research. Sue was a beautiful example of how to love deeply, to enjoy life fully, to meditate and pray often, and to keep God at the center of all things. The impact she made on everyone she encountered will forever live. They will live through the lives that she touched and the memories that she leaves behind. Her loving, gentle, and spirited presence will never be forgotten. We love you always, Grammy Sue. I have only had the pleasure to get to know Sue over the last 5 years or so. And after learning more about her life in these last several weeks, it's clear to me that, and I think it was clear to her, that her purpose was to support others. And she just didn't stop in one area, as you've heard. In fact, she believed in living life where you were fully engaged body, mind, and spirit. And so you can almost see her progression where at first it was nursing, supporting people in the body, and then it was in therapy, supporting people in the mind, and all of her adult life, she was heavily invested in this spiritual path, not only for herself, but to share what she knew with others. She's been involved in Unity communities for decades, first in Unity of Dallas, and then very involved at Unity of Irving, and then most recently, in the last 5 years or so, came to share her presence with us. So it was not surprising for me that she immediately dove in with both feet when she arrived here. She joined the care team, which is our prayer arm of our ministry. She sang in the choir, and many of the care team are here, and the choir came to honor her too today. She also was a member of the Spiritual Education Council, which she helped to facilitate adult Sunday school and taught some classes and did some workshops. And she was also working with me and many others in some leadership development and training that we were doing here. Our friendship really deepened through our shared experience at a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat last year. We ended up being roommates. She got in at the last minute, so I said, well, you can come share my room with me. And this intensive workshop included 12 to 14 hours a day where you had to be present. There was about 35 hours of lecture and more than 40 hours of meditation. And I have to admit that by day 2, I was complaining. Because my body was so uncomfortable that just to have to be mentally, physically, and spiritually present for that period of time was stretching me to my limits. And even though she was the one who had rheumatoid arthritis, I don't, she just smiled. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay, and just encouraged me along the way. On the last day, we were scheduled to do a walking meditation, and it was pouring rain outside. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to necessarily go do this walking meditation. You know, it's pouring outside. If I do it, I'll just walk inside. And it is a sight to see 2,000 people outside of the Gaylord. They block the roads off doing this walking meditation together. And she just, in the kindest way, looked at me and she said, honey, you've walked on fire. You're afraid of a little rain? She always had just the right way to put it where you got the message, and I did it that day. And we certainly grew closer as she navigated her cancer diagnosis. And I was once again witness to her grace and her compassion for others as she was moving through this. She was always more concerned about how others were doing in her process. And she also got a chance to grow spiritually by, perhaps for the first time in her life, really have to being willing to receive. And receive she did. And I think it just blew her away that so many people were willing to step up and support her in whatever way needed. Not just people she had known for a long time, but neighbors in her new Oaks 55 community. She had an army that was ready to support her through this. She often talked about her family, both her biological and those that she embraced as family. And it was so beautiful to witness her joy as family and friends gathered to celebrate her birthday last November. That's the first time I think I got to meet some of her extended family. And it was even a greater joy to me. Okay, I'm keeping it together here. To witness, and I'm going to say this because it's true, the beauty of her death, of her body. She had one child on either side embracing her. She was at peace, and she just sort of very quietly took her last breath. And it just was a beautiful reminder to me that life is beautiful, not only when we're living it here, but as we transition to this next phase of what life is for each of us. So today, there's a few other people that are going to come and share their thoughts about Sue. First, her son Chris is going to speak, and then her granddaughter Bailey. Her friend Kathy, who was, boy, she was the center of the hub of Sue's care team, for sure. And then another friend, Ben Cox, is going to be speaking. So I'll invite you to come up now.
Well, I want to say thank you all for being here today. It's been great to see lots of faces I haven't seen in many, many years. I will say I'm not too comfortable speaking, but I'm going to give it a shot for Mom. So she was many things: a mother, grandmother, sister, counselor, nurse, and friend. But more than anything, she was a steady presence. She had a way of making people feel seen, safe, and deeply loved. Whether through her work, her faith, her quiet encouragement, or that unmistakable smile, Mom had a gift for touching hearts and lifting spirits. And just by the way, she had a beautiful voice. That was her CD that was playing that she made back in 2000 before the service. Mom was a spiritual leader of our family. She made sure we got to church no matter what. And on days she had to work, she made sure Dad took us. Mom and Papa are the reason that I'm a Christian today. And I'm actually getting rebaptized tomorrow. From an early age, she taught me, Kim and I, the importance of helping those in need and loving others well. As we grew older, she became our biggest cheerleader, always encouraging us, counseling us, and offering a shoulder we could cry on whenever we needed it. Mom was really smart. She developed the Sibling Touch program while she was a labor and delivery nurse at St. Paul Hospital in Dallas. It was the first of its type in the DFW region in the 1980s when bringing kids into the NICU was unheard of. So I want to play an interview I did with my mom before she passed that she really wanted to make sure everybody knew.
So how did you come up with the sibling program?
I wanted siblings to be included in the process, to feel a part of the family, to feel part of the whole process. I wanted to try to reduce their jealousy, and I wanted to give them a little information about how the baby was born, because some parents have problems with that. So we had those little dolls, you remember?
I remember the doll with the sock. Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
Big sock, yeah.
Yeah. So there was that, and it continued all the way to when the hospital closed.
That's amazing.
And the world's weirdest state,
Huh?
And I wanted them to know about the world's weirdest date.
Yeah.
I went on a date. I told you about it, didn't I?
Yeah.
The guy that was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, you showed up and he was on the kitchen floor or something. Yeah, and you tried CPR and called 911, but it was too late. And it was.
Yeah. And,
So you knocked him over dead.
yeah, I guess I did. And, the decision to all the places that I worked, the NICU, labor and delivery, behavioral health, for 23 years.
Yeah.
And then lots of case management jobs for insurance. And then the best job I ever had was when I got fired from Signal Health Spring and started my practice.
That was a blessing in disguise.
Just like Michelle.
Yeah.
It's a terrible boss.
Yeah. Life's too short to deal with terrible bosses.
It is, it is.
So that was from Mom. She had a simple way of building confidence in us. Mom would often give us a compliment, and if we replied, "I'm trying," she would smile and say, "No, you are doing it." She didn't just believe in us, she helped us believe in ourselves. I also had the privilege of watching her be a tireless and loving caregiver, first to her husband, Jim, then to her mom, and finally Papa in 2020. She gave selflessly, never asking for anything in return, always showing up with patience, strength, and love. As the years went by, Mom became Grammy to many. Whenever we visited the house, it was always full of grandkids. Grammy and Alexis shared a really special bond. Mom loved having Alexis live with her. I think it helped her keep her young. She taught her how to drive, how to cook, how to keep a full-time job, and she loved Gary wholeheartedly when he entered Alexis's life. We had a long-standing family tradition of Saturday night dinners at Mom's house. Those nights were loud, full of laughter, and filled with love. When she met Michelle and her daughters Brooke and Bailey for the first time, it felt as if she had already accepted them into the family. That was just who she was, open-hearted and welcoming without hesitation. And just a side note, a funny tradition that developed was when we'd gather before to hold hands and do the prayer. Whoever was last, like going to the bathroom, we always clap, because they know because it started. We could talk to Mom about anything except politics. And if we did, Michelle had to become a referee. Mom taught me many things, but the most important lesson she gave me was to always draw closer to God, to be selfless and serve others. She taught me to be accepting of people who may seem different from me and to choose love first. She often reminded us that it's not easy enough to simply believe. Even the devil believes in Jesus. We're called to be followers of Christ, living out his teachings through love, compassion, service, and kindness. The scriptures are full of examples of how Jesus showed us how to love one another, and Mom lived that example every day. If Mom were able to speak today to us, she would want this to be a celebration. She would want everyone together celebrating life, faith, and the joy of one day being together in heaven. The greatest honor you could give my mom is to show compassion to everyone you come across, speak kind words, and never underestimate what a simple smile or small random act of kindness can do for someone. You never know what somebody else may be facing or carrying. Life is full of choices. These choices have benefits and consequences. Mom would tell us to choose life in love, live in love. Our family has been comforted beyond words by the kind messages, prayers, shared memories, and expressions of love we've received. Every story reminds us just how many lives she touched and the legacy of compassion, faith, and joy she leaves behind. And I just want to take a moment. Looking back, I see how God worked because for several years she had talked about selling her house, her beloved house. And she kept fighting it, didn't want to do it. And so she brought it up at the beginning of last year, and we said, okay, well, we're going to take the family table. We're going to bring it to our house, and that spurred on her moving, getting rid of things. Her grandson, Will, he was moving out of state. He needed furniture. So luckily, she was able to gift him the furniture. And then she was able to move into the Oaks 55 where she could not worry about maintenance. She could be with her friends to support her through this. And it prepared us because going through all the stuff of the house and that stresses would have been really overwhelming. So I see how God really just weaved his hand over this, and it's just amazing looking back on it. So I just want to say thank you for being here, for honoring her life, and for walking with our family during this time. Kim and I were truly blessed to have her as a mother, and I think we were all blessed to have her touch our lives. Thank you.
Chris is a lot taller than me. There we go. Hi, I'm Bailey, one of Grammy Sue's many grandchildren, and this is a letter I wrote to her and read to her before she passed. Dear Grammy, words cannot describe how much I love and care for you. From the day we met and you told Brooke and I to call you Grammy, I loved you and felt loved by you. I am sad that I will never receive another card from you with an essay written on it in cursive that I'll have to have my mom help me decipher. I will miss your cooking. For a while I did not like it because it was too healthy, but I grew to love it. I will also miss your hugs that turned into motivational speeches. You have had a lasting impact on my life and helped shape the person I am today. You are the kindest person I know, and I hope to be more like you. And even though we are not related by blood, you are the best grandmother anyone could ask for. Love, Bailey. Thank you.
Need these. Hi, my name is Kathy Hopp. I'm honored to speak about Sue, who was my very close friend. I have tried to think back as to when our friendship began. Exactly how many years were we friends? And I can't seem to get the exact date right, but I think we've been best friends for 10 to 12 years. But I can remember where this all started. And it started in this church. I was a member of the church. Sue was a member of Unity of Irving. But she came to the church and we both attended a class facilitated by John Rouser that focused on prayer and meditation, a word we're hearing a lot. I don't remember a lot about Sue in the class, but I do remember that as a final project, we were split into small groups, and I was lucky enough to be put in a group with Sue. So we all had to come up with a type of meditation, some meditation experience that we would share with the rest of the class. And Sue piped up right away. She knew exactly what we were going to do. and that was a Taizé service. Now, many of us there didn't even know what this Taizé service was. And for those of you who may not have ever heard of it, it is a meditative, ecumenical Christian worship style from France, featuring quiet, candlelight, and chanting to foster peace and unity. Well, our group was given this room to create the atmosphere. We moved the pews so that they were in a circle. We brought, well, Sue really brought so many candles from her house. I never saw anyone who had as many candles as that woman. And we created the most beautiful candlelit experience, and I just will never forget that. And it was after one of those classes that Sue asked me if I would like to go to dinner with her at IHOP. And that was the beginning of our friendship. And as many people have said, she had a daily meditation practice that put the rest of us probably to shame. So shortly after meeting Sue, of course, she wanted me to meet all her Unity of Irving friends. So I was attending some church services with her, and they had there was a person at Unity of Irving, Wanda Zamorano, who was a beautiful friend to Sue, and she had started a book ministry, and we were working with a organization called Many Helping Hands. And what they did is they put on a dinner for homeless people in Irving. And so, you had the dinner, you had the Bible study, you had the clothing that was given out, and they, the people at Unity of Irving thought up this idea of bringing books, because what do homeless people do all day long? Maybe they'd like reading books. So Sue and I became involved in this organization, and we were driving to people's houses, getting donations of books. We were driving to local used bookstores who had agreed to give us books. And we always were traveling with books in our trunk, books in our garage. And when we would go to these dinners, they were once a week, we would show up and we would display the books and converse with the homeless people that were there. And Sue would be right there by my side. But the next thing I know, she was gone. I don't know where she went. She was counseling homeless members of the dinner. If she found out that they were going through some family issue or whatever it was, she would find a quiet place where she could counsel. So this was something that Sue was great at. And as very shortly after we met, she started her private practice. And it wasn't a problem trying to, I think she was worried about not finding enough clients at the beginning. That was not the problem. The problem was, if Sue got a phone call from somebody who wanted to be counseled, she could not turn anyone down. So what started off as going to be a part-time job turned into a very time-demanding one. So we were not able to spend as much time together when she was so involved in her practice. And it was Sue that came up with the idea that we should set an appointment for ourselves And our appointment was set every Friday night. We met, and what we decided, because we both love to cook, is that one Friday night I would cook for Sue, and the next Friday night she would cook for me. So we did that for, I think it's been about 6 or 7 years that we have done this. And it was a wonderful way to cement our friendship and really making our friendship a priority. So, Sue, that's what I will miss most, my Friday nights. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben. I was a friend of Sue's, or she, some of you may have known her as Belinda, or Mom. It's been heart-touching to hear all of your stories, or see the perspective, the influence that Sue has had in each of our lives, and the loving presence that she's had. So thank you all for sharing today. It's been wonderful to see the people that have turned out here, and I'm very grateful to be up here and honored to share my experience with her. So I knew Sue for only like 2.5 years, but she had an outsized impact in my life. I met her through a book club. It's a spiritual book club, and I wasn't actually looking for community at the time. I was just looking to better understand my connection to spiritual growth. And she encouraged me to come join this church and just come meet some people. And I wasn't too keen on the idea, but as a way to meet her and kind of like close out, because she'd given me that sense of connection and that sense of like being able to pursue that spiritual path through that book club. So, all right, I'll come check it out. And what I discovered, which seems to resonate a lot in the talks that you've shared, is an incredible appetite for service and what it means to be part of a community and how satisfying it is to give something to someone else, knowing that you expect nothing in return. And I guess to get back to my talking points, I just wanted, that was my takeaway from like hearing you all share today. But yes, that theme has played out in my relationship with my wife as a husband, as a father in this community, and as well as professionally. Just finding new ways to be of service to others has enriched my life in ways that I didn't expect. Now, personally, I can share a couple little stories with you about Sue just always surprised me. I knew that she had pain at certain days and like she was experiencing discomfort, but she never let it like bleed through in her actions. She never let it, she always discerned a way to act in a loving way. And even like the simple things, like I shared with her one time, I was going up for a big interview for a new promotion, and a week later I had to, tell her the story of how I didn't get it, and I was a little disappointed, and she patted me on the shoulder and was like, Ben, you'll find an opportunity. Like she found the silver lining in that moment to really turn it around and like kind of lift me back up and put me back in the direction of growth. And that was beautiful. That's just one example of how she's helped many people in her lives. And then more recently, Sue and I were talking over the phone before, after she had gotten her diagnosis, and like through the progression of that journey. And this was a conversation where the doctor had let her know like it was not really an option for treatment, and that she was kind of being sent for hospice. And I remember talking to her in that conversation and just feeling this sense of peace. Like she was so like comforted. It's so comforting to hear how ready she was and just how at peace she was. And so I took the opportunity in that conversation to ask her, Sue, how do you want me to know that you're thinking of me? How do you want me to know that your presence is, with me and from beyond this mortal plane? I was like, it could be anything simple, like maybe a butterfly. Maybe I see a butterfly and I think of you. She's like, that's too easy. Let's do blue butterflies. And I remember thinking at the time, that is really specific. I cannot remember the last time I saw a blue butterfly, but that's your decision, so okay. A few days later, my youngest son, who's 3, walks up to me. He's got a little toy from the treasure box. He's like, Dad, I was behaved well in class today. I got this new toy. Let me show you what it is. And it's 2 little rings, and they're uniquely different blue butterflies. And so I take a photo and send it to her, just like thinking of you, and I don't get a response back. And the next day, I get the message that Sue has passed the night before. And to me, that's her way of like going out of her way to share her love and peace, is let me and now the rest of you know that she's in a good place, and she sends her love. And on that note, I'm incredibly grateful for her presence, her impact in my life. And I know that we can all feel her loving presence. And I would encourage each of us to go out there and keep our minds open for the blue butterflies that, represent her peace, her comfort, and her connection even beyond this mortal plane. Thank you.
Yes, it was interesting. I had texted Ben the next morning, and it was about 30 minutes after she passed that his son came and he was sending me a picture. I had no idea that had even been a conversation. So we're going to take just a few minutes, and I want to invite you each, because I know we each had our own memories that make Sue who she is in our own life. So we're going to take a few moments just to bring into our own hearts and our own minds that favorite moment that we have with Sue, the energy that Sue gifted to us, and let that be the way that she lives on in our own minds and our own hearts as we listen to her sing one of her favorite songs, Love Can Build a Bridge.
I'd gladly walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet to share with you the last bite of bread I had to eat. I would swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Hey, don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love and only love.
Wouldn't it be nice if Sue could have heard all this praise? She would have been embarrassed. She probably would have been like, no. And the sharing of all these wonderful memories. Perhaps, but I would like to think that she knew how much she was cared for, how many people admired her, and how many lives that she touched. The truth is that we're the ones who needed to speak them. We're the ones who needed to share the memories and feel that in some small way we are honoring her. We know the truth that life is eternal. There is but one life, and we are all a part of that life. There's only one love, and we recognize that we are part of that love. And that life and that love moves in us, through us, connects us, and expresses as us. So appearances may change, but the infinite goes on. Every flower has its season, and then it withers and fades, but its life is not over. Life continues from the unseen roots or seeds, and that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It merely transitions and changes form. So as we close our time together, we just ask God to support us, to comfort us, to guide us as we move forward in life, to hear when we are in our quiet times her voice that encourages us, that challenges us, that moves us to continue. And we give thanks for the time that we've had together to share the life and the love that we knew as Sue. God, we know that you have enfolded her with your eternal divine love. And we release Sue to you now, knowing that her soul is continuing on its journey, and this journey will be glorious and sweet. We ask that everyone present today, those who could not be here, those joining us on the live stream, and anyone else whose life was touched by Sue, to be filled with your divine peace, your strength, and comfort. We ask this in the name and after the nature of the living, loving Christ. Amen. So the family invites you to join them if you'd like to in our fellowship hall for some refreshments after the service. And I'm going to invite anyone here who knows this to join with me as we bless Sue with our prayer for protection. And then she's going to want us to be happy, so we're going to go out on a happy note. So if you know this, please join with me. So for Sue, we know that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news talking this should probably warn you, I'll be just fine.
Yeah.
No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, because